Good night, and welcome to Mindful Live. What are we on now? 514, Mindful Live 514. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Sometimes your co-host, but my host is sleeping tonight. Wonderful news, my host is fast asleep. Thank you for joining me. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen out there on TikTok. That's how you do that. Hey, Ronnie. Yeah, we were here exactly 9:30 this evening, tonight. Finally back to in time. What a glorious thing. What a glorious... Mic problems. Oh my goodness. Don't tell me my Bluetooth. Yeah. Occasionally the Bluetooth wants to jump in and do its own thing, but we should be back up there good and proper. Once you're on the inside, you hit that like button. If you are looking at this on YouTube, to hit that like button out there. Make sure you are subscribed. Tell everybody, hey, go and take in some of this stuff. There's a lot of it to take in, even though, sometimes we miss in these days for the various reasons. But there's still a lot of stuff there for today. Yes, then Thursday we are now... Listen. Life comes at us fast. That's just the reality. Let's not get lost in the weeds and in those finer things out there. We're here. What matters is we are here tonight in the moment. The present is a gift. That's why it's called the present. All that good stuff. All right, so in the news, we have no independence, people. Independence cancel. Independence they cancel. At least the parade part of it. The parade is gone. Not this year. And then on top of that, the fireworks is gone. At least this year. But just to foreshadow some of what I'm going to be talking about as I look through some of these stories here, I find there are too many different reasons. My personal feeling, I find there are too many reasons. Here's what I mean. As a teacher, now as a parent, one of the telltale signs you look for if somebody is lying to you is they give you too many reasons for something happening. Was it you who broke the pipe in the backyard? Well, what happened was my neighbor had threw the ball in the backyard, and I went in the backyard to get the ball, and then I had see a tree, and I was trying to break out the tree and pull out the tree, and then what happened is a bird had fallen in the backyard too, and I had to dig a hole to bury the hole. The lady doth protest too much. If there's a reason, there is a reason. If there's a reason, there's a reason. When you start to just throw out a million different causes, people at least a sensible person would get the idea that there isn't really a clear one reason here, or they're trying to obfuscate from that answer. They're trying to hide whatever the one clear reason is. It doesn't really add up like that. And it's not that I am so attached to fireworks per se. I don't mind the fireworks. I go to fireworks relatively regularly. I think I've been there last year and year before. A nice little family event and stuff. I don't mind that. And I am an animal lover, but reality is life. But it's not that I am attached to the fireworks so much per se. If there's no fireworks, there's no fireworks. I could do something else with my family. But the reasonings just seem a bit strained. I saw someone with the meme of Ula looking at our current Prime Minister, suggesting prayers to help the nation. It was controversial when Earls said it, but all of a sudden, now we agree. Tanti Earls gave this idea before. They were just copycatting her idea. Justice for Earla. Yes, Tanti Earls was given this idea before and people was clonging the lady. Now look where it reached. Look where it reached. No parade fireworks for independence. Government chooses to preserve security during SOE. And listen, one of the ministers was recently held hostage, threatened, and had to be rescued by the police, and she refused to press charges. When are you saying are you talking about recently, as in last year or year before, when the bacchanal happened and allegedly it was a bit of romantic entanglements, really and truly, and nothing to do with? Well, Otis, stop it now, man. You're trying to confuse the matter. You making people think it's CPEP and URPU talking about, while it's love and other things. The romantic entanglements, that's a separate issue, sir. Allegedly. I don't know. Allegedly romantic entanglements was the cause of that one. I wasn't there. The government has asked for Independence Day on August 31st to be celebrated as a day of prayer and reflection, rather than by a military parade or a public fireworks display, said a statement on August 15 by the Minister of Homeland Security. The statement cited security concerns amid the ongoing state of emergency called on July 18th due to an alleged amalgamation of criminal gangs drawing up a hit list of public officials, with the SOE later extended for 3 months. Okay, so now if this was your reason, because as far as I know, Otis, that happened before they even came into power. That happened while she was a member of the opposition, as far as I recall. Remember, they just came into power. So how would URP people have known to kidnap her last year for something she was going to do this year? Did we see that Mark Basan piece? Well, we are now getting into that. Which Mark Basan piece exactly? I've heard those allegations. He is a refugee in England and all of that stuff. I don't know. But yes, if the reason for the stopping of the fireworks was that initial piece, then everything henceforth is supposed to be built around supporting that reason. If they have intelligent information about the people that made the hit, why not move on it? I don't know. Probably the information isn't at the stage they need it to be at yet. Abdul says about them and campaign financing from a yes, I saw that. Otis, so you think UNC contractors didn't have contracts under the PNM, you mean? I don't know, sir. But it wouldn't have made sense to kidnap her when she was out of politics last year. That could have never been because of something she was going to do in the future. That wouldn't make sense. They would have had to predict the future. Now, this is where things start to get strange, because they start to add more reasons. The statement cited security concerns. At a later briefing, Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander alluded to a security rationale for the firework ban, on top of his main concern about noise pollution harming animals and people. So, are the harming of animals and people the main concern? Or is it the SOE security business? That seems like a kind of strange multi-answer. They're issuing permits solely for the sale and use of silent fireworks for private displays. Now, listen. It would be interesting for someone to go out there and find out if perchance, there was an importer that imported a ton of silent fireworks right before this policy change was made. I wonder who has silent fireworks in large supply to be sold. That will be interesting. That will be interesting. That will be interesting. Of course you are. I am very curious because listen, sometimes you don't understand. That's the way governments and their friends could make money very easily. If I bring in 5 containers worth of silent fireworks and the government sets a policy that sends any big private display of fireworks must come to me by default because they are only getting permits for silent fireworks, then I could have my 5 containers and assured sale, and I could bump the price a little more than I would normally. And from what I've looked at with silent fireworks, all they are is smaller, a little more tarded fireworks. I know that's a controversial word, but they're just smaller, more dotage fireworks. It isn't even truly silent. It's not like you still see the big glow in the sky and nothing sounds. No, it's a smaller glow and a smaller bang. Wow, grand. It's not silent. I want one of the rocket launcher lookalike fireworks, the 1% fireworks does have. But with 2 weeks notice, are they really saving any money because they'll have had contracts with, I don't know, service providers? I don't know. And that's the next thing they're talking about, saving money. We are using the savings from these functions to help with the fight against crime, they said. How much are you going to save? Like realistically, this change, how much savings would it give? I don't know. I don't know. And somehow, Abdul, I feel like it's going to be a scene like that because with this level of notice that they gave here, 2 weeks notice, you all know that basically all of the private fireworks are already in the country. It's not like we could have saved 900,000 and more. You see the direction people would have to go down, Abdul, if you're starting to talking about pinching pennies and things like a parade. But yeah, it's not like a big retailer of fireworks was planning to bring in fireworks 3 days before Independence Day to start selling. Those fireworks are already in the country. And as far as I can tell, they didn't say that the ban extended to the import of those fireworks, so they are banning all import of any loud fireworks. So all of those fireworks are in the country. If all those fireworks get into private hands, if the police can't stop fellas who shooting people with gun and killing them, police going to stop random people bursting fireworks? When a firework explodes about 80 feet in the air, can you tell who lit the firework? Worse yet, when you're talking about in urban or suburban, highly populated areas like East Port of Spain, like Diego Martin, somebody light a firework up on top in Beverly Hills up there on the hill. Light off a volley of fireworks. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody down on the highway could see it. What the police going to do? Skate up the hill up Beverly Hills and go door to door looking for what? Anybody with matches and a lighter that could have lit a firework? Like, how's that going to work out? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, as I said, it's not that I'm against the ban by some real serious. I have never been much of a fireworks person. Like, I don't know. The simplicity of mind in myself, I couldn't really bring myself to it. The idea of paying hundreds of dollars and literally just watching it go up in smoke. 50, 80. Oh, that was $100 one. Wow, my $100 was colorful. Listen. I could do without the 0.5 seconds of bright colors to save my $100. You know, my personal feeling on the matter. Bears man, listen. I ain't even the biggest bears man, but a bear makes more sense than a firework. You pay $10 and at least you're still sipping the beer 5 minutes later. $10. Are there any fireworks still for $10? Even if you buy a firework for $10, that's just something to go up in the air and go. That's $10. Nothing. You might even see a color for $10. Might need a pitch black night, and you might just see a little spark or something there. So I've never been one to really be in on the fireworks trend per se. Hey, fellas, good night. What have you been up to? So many things. Fathering, working, trying not to get sick, trying not to stay sick, you know. Working on my gardening, working on my chickens. I have my chickens going. Many things. They have been a busy guy. Both she's are fine. My son made a bamboo style cannon out of a 4-inch pipe carbide or gasoline. It's loud to stop it. Your son doing the thing. J&K says, I don't mind the fact that she took away fireworks. Why the parade though? J&K Solutions, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying on all of those things. Something doesn't seem like it quite adds up on the whole issue. The reasons don't seem to extend to everything. If you were aiming at solving the animal issue, then this wouldn't be as some state of emergency, something right before Independence Day. This would have been something as your policy statement, like the stand your ground policy that they've been going around with since they came into power. It would have been something like that, something that's obviously part of your policy. We're not going along with this. We're looking to stop the import of loud fireworks and all of that. Yeah, but to tell me 2 weeks before, and it's about the animals, and it's about security, and it's about money. Government praised for compassionate fireworks decision. Listen, y'all, I am no means bigoted. I mean no negative to any group of people, any disabled group or anything like that. But there are some stories that there's a kind of humor to it. That Ronnie says they could move it to the waterfront. I'm for that. And if you move it to the waterfront, anywhere along the whole Gulf of Paria would be able to see that fireworks. Because even as is, from Waterloo, from Felicity there and the Gulf, you could have seen the fireworks even in the savannah, just not as clear. If you have that off of the waterfront, that's a clear view. People all in Venezuela might be able to see some of that. That's great. I think that's a good idea. I agree. If so, why host Modi the fireworks? Yes, the parade. No. Why not come clean instead of making up up stories? That's a good question, Dalip. But if it was something that they were willing to come clean with, they would have done it already. Good night, but the fireworks will be going for Diwali, I'm sure. Well, Kendall Stewart, I understand the sentiment you're attempting to push there, but I don't necessarily think so. Because part of the issue there is that there aren't government sponsored fireworks per se on Diwali. The question would be if they would give, for example, the Nagar, if they would give them the permit for use of full volume fireworks. That would be interesting to see. But to attempt to make it seem necessarily like there is no bad blood even also between the SDMS and the current administration, although they share religious familiarity, they have some friction between them too. There's more to this beside the fireworks. I find they have a hidden agenda. I think there's more to it beside the fireworks too, because I don't think the fireworks thing just makes sense on its own. The Titi Blind Welfare Association. The Titi Blind Welfare Association. Read my comment, okay? That's the only comment I see from you. The Titi Blind Welfare Association has welcomed the government's announced cancellation of the Independence Day fireworks. Faceless, I am not seeing any other comment from you. How far up must I scroll to find that other comment? Don't see it, don't see anything. Just make over whatever comment you're trying to get me to think. Trump is sending troops to the Caribbean. Yes, he is. Listen, the story is going to further flesh out and explain why the blind have an input in this. But just at the start, just the framing of the story, I nearly feel bad for smiling at this, but the blind don't generally look for fireworks. They went on, it's not only an act of compassion towards animals, infants, and the elderly, but also a crucial step in safeguarding the rights, dignity, and well-being of people who are blind and visually impaired, the TTBWA said in a media release on August 16th. For people who are blind, sound is one of the primary tools used for orientation, safety, and independence. Sudden, uncontrolled, and excessive noise from fireworks creates disorientation, anxiety, and heightened vulnerability. In some cases, it can result in dangerous situations, such as difficulty navigating in public spaces, triggering trauma, or causing confusion that puts blind persons at risk of accidents. Unlike sighted persons, individuals who are blind cannot rely on visual cues to determine the source or direction of loud sounds, leaving them feeling unsafe and exposed when fireworks erupt unexpectedly in residential areas. Faceless says we need the military protection, so no time for parade. We need which military? Are you talking about our regiment? And protect from what? Our regiment is busy protecting from what? The US military? So that's why they can't. Give me a chance. Give me a chance on that one. Give me a chance. Don't do me that. Don't do me that. Don't do me that. Or from Venice. All right. Well, then that might make more sense. But They don't seem like they're very, very busy doing that. It's not like the fireworks is going to be 4 hours. It's like 10 minutes of fireworks. Well, what it nearly seems like the Blind Welfare Association is saying here is they aren't just commenting on the national fireworks. They're commenting on the whole not giving private citizens permits for fireworks. But I think the kind of fireworks that the Blind Welfare Association is most bothered by is exactly the kind of fireworks that we aren't going to stop by doing this. The random fireworks that your neighbor just going to throw off. The random fireworks that the village guys, the guys in the community, the guys in the neighborhood put on their transport bag, fill it up with fireworks and roam the neighborhood shooting off. That kind of fireworks wouldn't be stopped by this. Those fireworks are already in the country. Scratch bombs have been illegal since I was a little boy. And since I was a little boy till this day, people still be scratching scratch bombs. So I don't think that's going to stop that kind of fireworks. That's not going to stop that kind of fireworks. And that's the kind of fireworks that the Blind Welfare Association seems to most be complaining about. The fireworks where they don't know where it's coming from. They don't know what's the source. It's unpredictable. Because by the very nature of the Independence Day fireworks, it starts at a specific time. It runs for a specific run time. It occurs on a specific day in a specific location. It's the least unpredictable thing you're going to hear. You know what it is, you know where it's coming from. So, I agree with Ronnie on the moving to the waterfront, away from the zoo also. But I've also said many times that it doesn't make sense to have a zoo in the middle of your capital city that way too. Doesn't make sense to me. Throw the zoo somewhere else also. But it could make sense moving it to the waterfront. And here's the reality. Human entertainment costs nature. It has always been that way. Now, it's up to us to balance how much of that cost we're willing to put out on nature, but it is up to us. So to pretend like there's a way for humanity to go on and entertain ourselves that has no effect on nature is a lie. Give me a reason that also it's going to affect nature. And there's silent fireworks. Well, that's what they're giving the passes for. They're giving permits for silent fireworks. But silent fireworks aren't as fun. Because silent fireworks aren't silent. They're basically smaller fireworks. That's all. It's smaller, so it doesn't make as much noise. But it still makes noise. And it doesn't make nearly as much of a wow in terms of the color effect. I guess the future, if you're looking for silent fireworks, the future might be a drone show or something of the like. But I still don't think a drone show will be as explosive as a literal colorful explosion going off 100 feet above your head. There's something about that. The sky takes days to clear up after Diwali in India. That's the reality. That's just the reality. PM dares PNM to stage its own Independence Day parade. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is challenging the opposition People's National Movement to stage its own Independence Day parade, stressing that her government has not restricted the right to free movement on August 31st. At a media briefing yesterday at the opposition leader's office in Port of Spain, Penelope Beckles renewed her call for a scaled-down Independence Day event in the interest of patriotism and for small businesses that depend on the day for earnings. Beckles also questioned why the Prime Minister has not personally addressed the nation and the decision to replace the military parade and related festivities with a day of prayer and reflection. Beckles posited that a military parade would have been a show of force to the criminals. And I think those are good questions coming from the opposition. Those are good questions. Okay, the crime element is why you don't want the fireworks. Okay, you are not allowing loud fireworks permits, but that has nothing to do with the parade. And a lot of the vendors, as Ms. Beckles said, a lot of the vendors would still be able to make a living if you have the parade. In fact, if you have a parade with no subsequent fireworks, the parade may in fact be larger in terms of the numbers of people visiting, giving the vendors some nice money. Why not? Prime Minister Kamala Persaud-Bissessou said the PNM can have its own function and even went as far as to invite Guardian Media to join the opposition leader. Responding to questions via WhatsApp about a perceived absence during a time of mixed messaging over the real reason for the government's decision, she said, "You all at Guardian Media and Mrs. Beckles Robinson are free to go to Port of Spain on Independence Day and walk around if you wish. There are no restrictions on free movement. Enjoy. Have a great day." That makes it worse to me. That makes it worse to me. If the reason for no parade is the security issues of a crowd in Port of Spain, then why would you encourage a crowd in Port of Spain just not managed by the government? That doesn't make sense. In a video posted to TikTok, Tanku questioned why the PNM was adamant that there be a military parade when the government has already established there is a viable, true, and real security threat against high office holders, inclusive of members of the judiciary, police service, and prison service. Minister Tanku said, "Why is the PNM so anxious to have all of these individuals in one place? Who exactly is the PNM trying to facilitate? The criminals? Ask yourself these very serious questions. These are not things that are happening by the way. This is not just the PNM being as obstructionist as they always have been." What? So, the finance minister is alleging or alluding that the opposition is attempting to get all of the high-ranking officials in one place to facilitate the gangs to take them out. What? And that makes sense. Why? $2.8 million hit on 3 ministers. Padarath, Amin, and Sturge targeted, says cops. A collective bounty of $2.8 million to kill has been placed on the heads of 3 government ministers and a state official. The ministers are Defense Minister Wayne Sturge, Local Government Minister Khadija Amin, and Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath. The state official is Unemployment Relief Program Manager Feroz Khan. The orders to kill are connected to the ongoing community-based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program, CPEP, and URP cleanup, according to senior police officials speaking to the Express on the condition of strict anonymity yesterday. This follows what sources say is credible intelligence reports compiled by law enforcement outlining the threats, especially against Sturge and the others, as reported in the media at the weekend. 3 main players are said to be at the heart of plotting this attack. Among them, a Trinidadian with Colombian ties wanted for a 2024 murder of 35-year-old Kevon Lucas alias Shrek, and his girlfriend Shireen Salandi, who were found in a Hyundai Elantra that was left idling along Buru Highway in Sangre Grande in mid-August 2024. He later fled the country and is hiding out in Colombia, according to sources. Now, listen. I don't get the sense of this in general. There's only one way to me this makes sense, and we'll get into that one way as the article goes on. But in the general way it's being pushed to the public, it does not make sense to me. Alright, I's a gangster. I'm not a gangster. We're in a hypothetical here, right? Good. But I's a gangster in the hypothetical. I make money through CPEP and URP contracts. Government change, they cut my money. What am I going to gain from murdering one of those government officials? Like, if you take out Barry, I don't want that to happen, but if in the hypothetical that happens, what do you think? They're going to reinstate your contract? Like, I think many of these criminals are fools and stupid people, but I don't think they're that level of stupid. For what? Why would you just take out random government officials? Like, even if you're looking to put the squeeze on the government to force their hand to make you to make them change their mind, hey, stop it, Ronnie. Stop that one time. Cut it. Even if you're trying to put the squeeze on the government to make them change their minds, I don't want this to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But what you do is threaten their family. Wouldn't that be the case? Wouldn't it be the case that they'll say the family members? Yes, I do. Wouldn't it be the case that the family members of the politicians may be under risk and that's who they're attempting to shoot at, and they mightn't even necessarily want to hurt them, they just want to get people scared? Like, if you started to show me bullet holes in the family home of this politician, and you show me a vehicle stalking this politician child, and those are things that kind of make sense in that realm, because then you're trying to put a squeeze to make sure they change their mind to do something. But to just put out a hit on politicians, for what? What's that going to do? Even if you successfully hit all three, they'll just hire another three, and they will now come after you who did the hit. What? Why would that make sense? Unless what this story alleges is true. Sources say that this wanted man, closely associated with a well-known Toco Sangre Grande contractor and another contractor from the Santa Cruz area, had pumped close to $20 million into the 2025 UNC election campaign with the promised payback of sweetheart contracts through the flagship state programs. Intelligence sources told the Express that the well-known contractor from the Toco Sangre Grande region was also a major financier of the resistance gang, and one of his relatives served as the gang's point man in that area. Now, I don't know if this is true, but then this could make sense, because then it's not about attempting to squeeze somebody into making a decision. No, it's someone who double-crossed you. And in the world of gangsterism, if I's a bad boy, I will take you out for double-crossing me. That's something that's something that could make sense in the bad boy world. The other one just didn't make sense. If you're saying this is the case, it could make sense. someone paid for a service and they don't get the service that they think they paid for, I could understand why they will be very angry about that. This matter is not recent. This has been happening since May of this year, and it only started to escalate in the last few months with attempts to especially intimidate Minister Sturge. But everyone connected with these programs by extension are also being targeted, said a senior police officer. Since the escalation of threats, the security details of these ministers have been increased. Underworld sources in the loop about the planned attack said that a Jamaican hitman was recently brought in to assist the other criminals in pursuing their targets. Another aspect of the URP-CPEP fallout is an apparent contract dispute between the syndicate and a prison gang boss. According to sources, in late July, several armed men associated with the latter went to the URP office headquarters in Guayco, saying they had come to take over operations. Employees locked themselves inside the building until police came, after which the gunmen fled. You see, if it's an internal bacchanal happening inside of the new administration, then it could all make a lot more sense. It could all make a lot more sense. In mid-June, all CPEP contracts were terminated by the government, putting thousands of workers on the breadline. Jamaica, known for hitmen since Shutters. Jamie Ford, you never see Shutters? Which gang? Resistance? If it's Resistance, well, I know which MP that is. And if it is the case that some internal squabble was bubbling up to the point of criminality and people getting hurt, then it could make sense why an extreme measure like clearing out the entirety of CPEP would make sense. Because even politically, that's pretty extreme. I think you could have worked on that piecemeal if you were looking to do the vocalized intent of it, of cleaning this up. You clean it up piecemeal. As you see the problem, you erase it and continue on instead of evacuating everyone and redoing it from scratch. But if there was something brewing that could have exploded, you could understand why a very urgent step may be needed. Similar to like what Dr. Rowley did with the our security service now. What's the name again? Where he came and fired Major Best in a sudden move. Something like that, where you see there's clearly some kind of emergency that they're worried about here. But what happens after the SOE comes to an end? Well, they say they're already shutting down the syndicate. They're clamping down on them. They're getting them handled. So we will see how that all goes. The threat is very real, says Minister. 2 government ministers have confirmed that security agencies are investigating alleged threats made against Minister of Defense Wayne Sturge. Cabinet is expected to meet on the issue, they said. UNC dismisses claim one of its own linked to Sturge threats. United National Congress General Secretary Peter Kanhai has distanced the party from reports that an attorney with close ties to the party is among conspirators in a plot to kill Defense Minister Wayne Sturge. This after reports of such a plot surfaced on the weekend. Attorney General John Jeremy had said in July that the current state of emergency was declared after discovery of plots to assassinate. On August 1st, On August 1st, Guardian Media reported that security was increased for all officials targeted in assassination plots organized by a crime syndicate operating from within the maximum security prison. Yesterday, UNC's Kanhai said he was sure the authorities will look into the allegations of this whole close ties to UNC contractors' business. And the attorney with ties to the UNC, Kanhai, said, "I have no such information of any such person connected to the UNC, and I am sure the relevant authorities will conduct the necessary investigations into the matter." Pressed on the fact that reported information indicated the threat was by a person with ties to the party, Kanhai said any threat to any citizen of TNT should concern all of us. But I know the authorities will investigate the matter. I find this man's songs dodgy. This is my opinion. I can be dead wrong. But I find that answer sounds a bit slippery. Any threat to any citizen of TNT should concern all of us, but I know the relevant authorities will investigate the matter. Why would you give such a vague, broad brush of an answer to a very specific question with a specific allegation? Is your son part of the gang selling the drugs? Well, anyone that is part of any group of people selling prohibited substances should be investigated and brought to justice. That's not the question. That's not the question. Is your son one of the guys inside there? Well, we have to ensure that the police are taking these matters very seriously and doing a complete investigation. What? Why is the answer so skiddy? UNC Chairman Dave Tanku didn't comment. Interesting. Nor did PRO Kirk Megu. Very interesting. Very interesting. That they wouldn't comment, that they wouldn't put themselves on record of saying, this is something ridiculous, this is insane, this is hearsay, it's a slanderous thing, it is untrue, none of our members can be implicated in such things, and we are certain of it. Why you don't go out saying that? Unless you know that that's not the case. While some UNC executives dismissed the reports as hearsay and innuendo, Guardian Media checks revealed another top UNC official in a key post in Toko Grande constituency received a threat regarding URP jobs in May. This was via a voice note. The person reported that it came from a TNT voice on a Venezuelan cell phone number. The message was that this time they were not going to dig up bodies and burn them again, but they would be leaving heads on the roundabout. The UNC official who received the threat has nothing to do with URP jobs. The person reported the matter to the police, who was subsequently in touch with them to see if they received more threats. The person blocked the number. Government officials said yesterday that the situation occurring with fights for URP jobs, for instance, arose as a result of willful neglect of the program, where people within the organization were allowed to facilitate ghost gangs and some criminal elements were allowed to operate these to the detriment of those who really need the program to survive. Interesting. Hungry gangs, though. PM links alleged death threats against Defense Minister. To CPEP URP clampdown says gangs now starved for public funds. Prime Minister says threats against Defense Minister were expected due to the much needed aggressive policing action to root out gang activity over the past month. You know, if that's the case, grand. If we are getting heightened drama because of our government's seriousness in taking on crime, then I'm all for it. I hope they win. I hope they get through. If that's the case. The thing is, crime is still occurring. The proof would be if crime actually goes down. If you tell us about some plot that no one can tell, no one can see, and then you tell us you solved this plot that none of us could have told or none of us could have seen, and then we go back to life as usual, and all along home invasions happen, murders are happening, robberies are happening, cars are being stolen, all of that is happening, going on all along. Then nobody cares about the grand plots against the ministers and all of this kind of talk, because it's not making any real difference. That's where we're going to see as the rubber meets the road. All right, people. That's all I have for now. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Mindful Live. I am Nathan Springer. PNM is a well-oiled machine with political experience. They don't need street gangs. I don't think I agree with that, Abdul. I don't agree with that. I just think that a well-oiled political machine, it's not that they won't need street gangs, but they would be much better at having many layers of separation between them and the street gang. It's like a well-oiled mafia syndicate versus a riffraff criminal street gang that just popped up last year. The street gang that just popped up last year, the gang leader, the gang boss, very likely he might still be cutting stuff, he might be wrapping stuff, his fingerprint still on the bag and on the foil and on the whatever is still in his house, is still in his garage, he still have things stored in his ceiling, he is still very much indictable on everything there. That's the street gang small. As you go to levels of management in criminality above that, you have someone who is the head of a crime syndicate. They are a criminal. But there are so many layers between them and the crimes committed. They don't do anything. They have a lawyer that they do everything through. The lawyer has a go-between that he sends as his messenger. The go-between that he sends as his messenger has a WhatsApp group that he messages. Actually, it's a Signal or Telegram group to make it even more encrypted. And then from that, those guys talk to their street guys and they put the instructions out there. Many layers. So if you catch a street guy, he doesn't even know that his boss is this politician or this judge sitting down in the courthouse judging him. That is actually his boss. He doesn't even know, because he doesn't know the top of his syndicate. There are just layers of separation to it. And I think that's more how the PNM might be. Not that they don't need them, but they may have layers of separation between them. I've always said that in terms of the difference in the style of corruption. It's like UNC, to me, it seems like UNC goes in, grabs a bag of money and runs out. Because they just come. They didn't get they didn't quite get a chance to plan this thing sophisticated. What the PNM would do is they're in charge of the bank. and they make a job in the bank to build a hole shaped like SBCS building. A very unique shaped hole inside the vault of the bank. And only one company could build that SBCS shaped block to seal that hole. So that one company keeps getting that job, and that one company just so happens to be in cahoots with the PNM. That's how the PNM does the stealing versus running and grab a bag and run out. That's why even the economy could sometimes seem like it's being stifled under them, because they're locking it all down. That's how it feels like to me. That's what it looks like to me. That's my opinion on it as far as I can see it. Alright people, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, and entertained. I am Nathan Springer. As usual, this has been brought to you by Mindful Education. If you're looking for that private tuition, one-on-one tutors for most subjects, or almost all subjects, starting from preschool, online classes, in-person classes, however you like it, preschool all the way up to Cape, hit us up, Mindful Education. I'll see you guys again for the next one. Until then, people, hold it down. Stay good. Be mindful.